Welcome back. Another edition of Blue Collar Green Pocket. I'm Jared Britt, your host, along with my co-host Chuck Wilson and Dave Jones, and we got Gary the Tech Guy joining in tonight. Special treat, Scott Danner. He's with Freedom Street Partners. He is a financial advisor. He's actually my financial advisor. One time when I was first meeting him, I gave him a check my grandma gave me for $12, and he has turned that into a lot of money. So Scott's going to tell us all about that. Scott, come on in here and tell us all about yourself, how you got into financial advising, and he's going to have another partner, Ryan Russo, join in here shortly. Go ahead, Scott, talk to us.
Jeb, you want me to talk to everybody about your grandmother? Or about
me? The $12 check, man. The money, all the money you made me out of my birthday check.
Well, I am in the simple Greek, doing a dad night for soccer practice, coming to you live from the street, the only place that's open till 9 around here. So, still working in the second job of the day, but I got into the industry at about 23 years old. And came right out of college, worked for the Attorney General's office for a couple of years in politics, and was the state director of crime prevention for Virginia, and went on to.
Hey, real quick before you go there, did you actually go to college for financial advisor, or that became secondary after you already? There's just a thought after the fact.
That's a great thing, man. When I went to school, I needed to get a scholarship to help pay for it because I was basically going to go in the military because I didn't think we could afford it or I could afford it. My mom filled out all my applications for me, and Radford ended up giving me a scholarship for room and board.
Isn't that a girls' school?
It was definitely predominantly girls, which wasn't a horrible thing for a college student. It made learning fun. And so anyway, yeah, I went to school for actually criminal justice and came out and went to work for the Attorney General's office. And that transition was I worked a lot in financial crimes, investment fraud. We did a lot of crime prevention. So I worked with a lot of seniors and law enforcement officials across the country, or across the state of Virginia, a lot of sheriff's departments, working with their with different crime prevention units to make sure that seniors were not taken advantage of. And so I kind of backed into the industry in a different way because there were so many people I was watching getting taken advantage of that I was really interested in how I could be on the other side of that, how I could help people do something a little bit to avoid what they were going through. And I had an aunt that worked for Edward Jones down in Arkansas, and she told me I'd be great at it. I was 22 years old. I applied, and that's how I got into the role.
Okay.
So, and that was a grind, Jeb, because basically when I did it, I said, I don't know a whole lot about this industry, but they told me that it was going to take a lot of hard work. I was going to have to knock on doors and cold call and build my business from scratch. And I went into it and said, okay, I'm going to get all my licenses. I studied. I did all the licensing you had to get. And I went and started building the business, literally knocking on doors, cold calling.
So, Scott, you have to ask people for their money so you can invest it and hopefully get them a good return and make them happy, right? Is that part of this?
Say that question again. I heard the last part. It broke up in between. I apologize.
So you're cold calling people to ask them for their money to trust you, right? To trust you, to give them a good return on their money and secure their future, basically, right?
Yeah. So the cold call was even simpler than that. The cold call was an introduction, and it was listen, I'm opening a business up the street. I'd love to sit down and talk to you and give me a chance to understand what your financial needs may be in the future. And I really didn't get into too much of the actual investment until I had an idea of who the individual was, which was a bit unique because the industry at the time was very sales oriented. And there was a lot of commission driven stuff. And I would make a call on something and then talk them out of it because I wanted to know more about actually what they were doing and what was most important to them. And we'd sit down and I'd find that I'd get a lot more of the trust and the future from that. So It was awesome. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. When you knock on doors, I started saying, hey, listen, I'm not here to change your religion, and I'm not here to sell you a vacuum. And people would laugh, and some people would slam the door. I'd send a thank you note to every single person I met. So even if they slammed the door on me, I would actually send a thank you note to those people first. I would say, I really appreciated the way you handled your manners at the door. I'm starting a business, and I really appreciate how you made me feel today. It actually invigorated me to do more of this. So thank you so much.
So Scott, back that up though before you got out there doing that. As far as the certifications and all, tell us more about that. And technically, back to my point, you did do the college and all, and that's awesome. But technically, I mean, you've got other guys that have come to work for you that don't, and they can go right in and get these certifications and all that without the 4-year degree to get it started, correct?
Yeah, so there's a lot of tracks to go in, and yeah, I did go to college, but a ton of the people that trained me did not. And there's a lot of ways to get into this industry. There's several of the admin roles that are really client relationship managers, administration, branch office administrators. They come into the industry and they get to basically serve the clients in a non licensed role. And they get a great way to learn the business from the backside, which is really all about service and structure and the way that clients need to be taken care of. And then from there, they can migrate and get their licensing and transition in the roles. A lot of women have done that in the industry, where they've come in as administrative roles and transitioned. And there's a ton of them that come in and do the college route as well. But there's so many different routes to get into this industry that it really is a open door opportunity for any person to really get their feet wet in some level of this industry.
That's great. You got to have that, like anything else. Got to have the passion and the hustle, right?
Yeah, it's hard work and that work ethic. It's like anything else, man. I think for me, growing up, I grew up in a awesome family, blue collar. My dad was a storeroom manager for the city schools. My mom was a paralegal. They worked their tails off, and I kind of saw the world as I was going to be a police officer or a teacher, or this really small shape of what I could be that was still a great opportunity and a great role. And when I got out and started really working, I started to see all these different jobs and all these different opportunities, and they all had one thing in common: hard work, ethics, all that stuff was something that we could do.
So how old are you now, Scott?
I'm 42.
42. So you've been at this about 20 years now, right?
Yeah, about 2 decades, man. And I started as an individual advisor.
With a head of hair.
Got my licenses. Yeah, with a full head of hair, man.
Did you have hair then?
I did. I was knocking on doors right after September 11th. Not everybody wanted to open their doors, but it was definitely an interesting time. But you go and you get your licensing. I got a Series 7. I got a Series at the time 63 that gave me my licensing to be able to do securities. Then you take a state license, insurance licensing, and then I went on to get a 66, which is another license that is a registered investment advisor license.
Are they federal? Are they federal or state licenses?
They're all regulated on a federal basis.
Okay.
There are some state licenses. The insurance industry is usually run through the state corporation commission, but it honestly, it's something that it has a pretty the way the industry is changing is there's a lot of ways to get into it, and a lot of people will actually go to college later after they dabble in the industry. They come in and they work for a group like ours, or they work for some of the big entities and companies, and the companies will pay for you to go to school and get your finance degree, get your CFP. There's so many opportunities for people to get into this industry that I think it's perfect for your show. And I love what you're doing, because the message of this show is all about options. It's all about opportunity. It's all about hard work, and you can go in any direction. But
and get a little taste of, get a little taste of what it is, and if you love it, pursue it. And
Exactly.
you're doing a lot of the classes are like online and whatnot, right? For the college course of the certifications, you can do a lot of that online at night.
You can do a lot online. I mean, look, COVID has been pretty crappy for everybody. One of the positives of this is the online opportunities have been significant. The increased opportunities for university classes, for finance certifications, for all kinds of things to really get your foot in the door. I mean, a lot of the people we hire now are certified financial planners, which do require a college degree, but that's for a specific role in the company.
Scott, does that, okay, so that requires you to have like a CFP certificate? You have to be a certified financial planner. Do you have to have a college degree for that, or do you just test for it?
You actually, the requirement is a college degree, but they can give you time to get your degree. They are restructuring some of those things, and I don't have that license, but I have several advisors on my team that work for me that do.
Sure.
So, you know, the old dog wasn't learning as many of the new tricks, so I decided to hire smarter and better people around me on a regular basis.
But you know, it's funny
to help me.
It's funny you just said old dog, because I think Chuck has a question for you.
Yeah, well, I was. Thanks, Dave.
No problem.
Liking what you were saying, Scott, that folks can get into the business without first going to college, and then if they figure out that that's really what they want to do, then they can get into the college that program that actually fits their passion that they've discovered, because they didn't initially go to college, waste a bunch of time and money, and come out still lost and not knowing what they want to be.
Chuck, real quick, are you locked in a basement? Touch your nose if you need help.
Actually, I am in a basement.
Touch your nose if we need to find you.
Come get me. This is proof of life.
You are locked in a basement. What dungeon are you in?
Well, I'm in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania right now, and you see the bookshelves behind me.
Has no books.
The empty bookshelf.
Those here. These are my old bookshelves. Giving them to my daughter and her new husband. And they just bought a house, and so I'm working to empty my storage room.
Hey, Jeb, is that duckboard above his head? Is that duckboard?
Duckboard. That is definitely duckboard.
Yeah. In fact,
is that someone tied to a pipe behind you? Or
the next episode of Criminal Minds, here comes Chuck.
I could.
Sorry, Chuck. Continue on. I'm sorry to interrupt you with Scott.
So anyway, Scott, I was basically commenting, not so much asking a question with that, but how?
It's Deep Thoughts with Chuck Wilson.
I should have known that was coming.
Way too late.
How would you say that the way of building a business as a financial advisor has changed? I mean, I was in the business for about 3 years or so, and they wanted me to do all this cold calling. It was basically a waste of time. I did a whole lot better being out and about among people and developing relationships. And now with I don't answer any calls if I don't know who's calling. And
by relationships, Chuck's referring to the swinging 80s.
Hey, Chuck, I take exception to everything that Jeb's saying. I'm on your team, buddy.
Yeah, this is crazy. So how has it changed out there, building a business, Scott?
We've got no audio.
You got no audio from you, bud.
Unmute him.
He is.
Oh.
He must have a button on his.
Oh.
Yeah.
Try now. You got nothing.
Can you do sign? Can you sign?
Your battery die? Okay, now we got you.
Okay, go ahead, Scott.
How about now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Not now, though.
Lost.
Not anymore.
No.
Why don't you why don't you switch to your earbuds? See if that works.
All right, well, Scott.
I'm assuming his
Yeah. Switch camera.
battery's
Switch
dying.
camera back. Yeah, let's talk.
He's in a great place. He could have gotten some baklava in his microphone.
So anybody just jumping in now? He's got Scott Danner with Freedom Street Partners, financial advisor. He's having a little technical issues. He's coming in here. Another partner, Ryan Russo, should be jumping in. He's going to tell us some more about working for Scott, of course, and how he got into the field.
And what we're talking about, Jeb, is every week, right? We're talking about careers that you can get in from high school, go to technical college, you can go into community college, or these are second careers also that you can get into after you may retire from being a firefighter in the military or something like that, or police force, early retirement.
All right, let's see if we got Scott back here now.
Can you hear us, Scott?
He's
yeah, I think he's coming on here.
working on it.
So it's always a fun technical. Gary the Tech God. I mean, you might want to change your name.
Not enough people have been praying to me. My powers have waned. My reach is.
Anyway, I have to tell you guys. Hey, Jeb, I have to tell you, and Chuck, and
say something,
I've gotten
Scott.
a lot of comments from people in the last few weeks about this podcast, and a lot of people that have shared it with their families, shared it with their children that are coming through school and trying to make decisions on careers, and I think it's been very valuable.
Well, that's the idea, Chuck. I mean, Dave, that's awesome to hear. Scott, I think we got you now.
We can hear you now, Scott.
Can you hear us?
No.
Nothing.
Yeah, we got you. Yeah. You're in.
I
Hey, order me, Scott. We got. He took it out. Give me a chicken pita.
Yeah. Give me some moussaka. I want the moussaka.
How about now?
I think we can hear you because we can hear the background.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
How
Scott.
about now? Can we hear me?
Yes. Yay. Scott's back. We got you. Go ahead, Scott.
All right, you hear me, but I don't hear you. So I'm going to come out and come right back in, Jeb. That's what I'm going to do because for some reason I got disconnected.
All right. So sorry, we're having a little technical glitch there. He'll be right back in along with his partner Russo. But Chuck, Dave, I've been hearing a lot too. It's great to hear that you're getting the same feedback as me and Chuck, because Chuck's been getting a lot as well. And for those at home, again, real quick, while we're waiting on Scott, Scott,
I hear you.
Awesome, Scott's back in.
Man, I don't know what happened. All I know is we went to Chuck's deep thoughts, and my whole line got disconnected from that point on. It was so deep, Chuck.
Thoughts for that.
All right, Gary, stay away from the deep thoughts with Chuck.
Yeah, I don't know what it literally disconnected the mic, and then I could hear you guys, but I couldn't speak anymore. So I don't know what happened. The deep thoughts were deep.
I think what we should do next week is a career in technology, and maybe Gary could be your mentor or something. I don't know.
I need a mentor for a lot of things, but Chuck, to answer your question, is the industry changed a ton, because when I came out and I was in my early 20s, there was a lot of the 1980s and 90s influence of calling on a stock, calling on a bond, initiating a conversation through sales. And you built a business through that. And it was very commission driven in the old days. And honestly, the regulations have been a challenge for the industry, but they've been good because it put the focus on understanding the financial plan, understanding the benefits the client needs first, and then building the portfolios and the actual products around that. And quite frankly, most of it today is devised of planning, financial planning, building an actual plan, and then developing a strategy to support the plan that fits your dream, your goal. It's life and then wealth, and that's extremely important.
So Scott, you got your own firm now. So when you're hiring people, especially let's just say your nephew or somebody comes to you, I need a job, Scott, right? And they don't have a college degree or whatever. What are you telling them? Okay, you're hungry. This is what you got to do, and you can work here. What are you telling them?
So I think that's a great question. Number one, because we've built a pretty good sized company, we have a lot of jobs that are needed at all times. You know, there's so many different things someone can do. So there's operations jobs, there's client-centered jobs, there's jobs that are, you know, that you have to have the licenses to get. I mean, those are all the things that can change. But to give the advice, what I would say is, first of all, get a job in the industry and serve people. This business is about relationships and serving people. And if you're serving people and helping them understand what their goals and needs are, that's the first step of any business, right? I mean, it's you, whether you go into a home and identify what someone's asking for, if you don't understand what they need and you're not just giving them what they want, but what they need, that's the first aspect. And so that's something that we're gonna encourage them.
You gotta know the expectation first, Scott, right?
100%. And I think reading the industry books, like a couple of books, I would give them, you know, I would encourage them to read something that would teach them a little bit about the industry, about the mindset. Look, one thing that you'll notice about every single person that comes on your show is they have a mindset to build something bigger than themselves. And it's built around serving people. It's not built around themselves, their business. It's built around helping someone. The financial benefits come because you're doing something that you enjoy, that you're working hard at, and
that's right.
and that you're really making a difference. And you know, from all the stuff we do in the community, man, I just interning in an office like ours, or any career, is the first step. Understanding what it is to do that day-to-day job, and then going to pursue it in any way that you feel is necessary. I prefer people nowadays to get their foot in the door, serve some clients, understand the business, and then look at the route that's best suited for them. To your point, Chuck, you know, there's a lot of different routes today that exist that didn't exist then. And so people like you that really loved and connected with people, there's probably another role that fits that today.
Well, and I see you doing a lot of social media presence. I mean, you're always out there, and that's certainly something that didn't exist a few years ago.
We got a question. Martin's asking. Scott mentioned earlier he was knocking on doors after 9/11. In the following months, was it difficult to sell an investment product with the collapse of the economy and people losing a large amount of their investments already? And let's fast forward to this year, 2020. I mean, we're not the same, but I mean, we're 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about we survived 2020. I mean,
yeah. Hey, that's a great question. Number one, it was difficult. It was difficult to knock on doors at a time like that, because honestly, you know, I came in right after that. The economy was still heading downward. It wasn't really in the best position. Real estate had started to do pretty good, and so people were slamming the door saying, I don't want to invest. I want real estate. That's going to be a better investment. And but you know what? A balanced approach to everything. Financial wealth and success is all about learning, all about growing, all about having an assortment of different things. And so, you know, meeting the right connections and the right people, whether it was $12 they got from their grandmother, or it was $12 million. You know, in the beginning, it was about building trust with people and helping them achieve whatever goal it was, solving problems for them, whether they be financial or personal. There were a lot of things in my career early that basically revolved around just helping someone solve a problem. And 5 years later, they called me and said, hey, man, I remember you knocking on doors and helping me. Can you help me with this now? And so there's a lot of goodwill that goes into building something early.
Well, a big part of your job is helping people not hurt themselves, or keeping people from hurting themselves financially. I mean, anybody that just stayed in the market through all those hard times is fine now. I mean, without, the worst thing is to get out and think you're going to time your entry. I mean, don't want to talk too much about that kind of thing, but still, that's a huge part of your job, is keeping people from hurting themselves, right?
Well, Chuck, it's a huge part of every job and every person on here. The word is commitment and loyalty. and commitment to a strategy. And so it's like a good long-term relationship. We use this analogy all the time. When you're in a long-term relationship, I have clients that have been married for 50, 60 years. Let me tell you what, man, they'll say, hey, I had bad days, I had bad months, I had bad years. I mean, they didn't get to 60, 65 years without having a really tough time for a couple of years along the way. 99% of them, that's how they got through it. Adversity builds the character, it builds the foundation, it builds the structure. And so to your point, having a commitment to your plan and staying focused on the plan and not focused on whatever's hot today. That's the trap people get into. And, you know, it's really easy to get in the trap. You're in the trap of whatever they're selling you on the media tomorrow, you know, today or tomorrow. And so if you don't like the political candidate that's in office or the one coming in or whatever it is, there's always an excuse to bail. And bailing on a strategy or on committed, focused efforts and plans is a bad idea, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's HVAC, running a restaurant, or investing in a portfolio.
Scott, it sounds like to me, in your role, you play a little bit of psychology. I mean, we talked to these hairstylists. I can't remember when it was, last week or the week before, and they said they were part psychologists. It sounds like to me, in your role, you're a sounding board for people, okay, that maybe are in a panic mode, right, at some times, and you really need to talk them off the ledge, so to speak, and say, hey, look, we got to go by the numbers here. When this has happened before, let's take an election, for instance. Everybody panics about an election, but if you look at stocks over an election, over time, maybe they weren't hurt that bad. Maybe it wasn't that big a factor, but everybody weighs in on that. So is that a big part of your? Is that a big part of your?
And I'd like to add to that, Dave, too. I can attest exactly what you're saying. I have been through situations in my life, and my financial advisor, Scott, was one of the first people I called to work through all of that. But you're 100% right, Dave, what you're saying.
Yeah, psychology, the psychology of crisis is an interesting thing. You know, I actually, during COVID, I found a presentation online called The Psychology of Crisis, put out by the CDC, and it went through how people react when they're in a crisis. And what was extremely interesting to me is that all this stuff is out there for public knowledge and use, but it's human nature. The first thing we do is we kind of panic and we get this anxiety feeling. The next thing we do is we get really small-minded. You know, we don't think anything can matter past our initial understanding of what the situation is. We get very uncomfortable, but when you have someone you can trust, that you can talk to, that's an outside person, the psychology of that is, my job is to understand where that person's coming from. Why are they asking these questions? And then addressing them. It's not always just to stay focused. You know, some people will say, well, Scott, you're just going to tell everybody to stay invested. That's not the case. The truth is, I need to understand what about this situation makes them so uncomfortable.
He told me to cash everything I had out once.
Yeah, that's not true.
Every time.
That's $12.
I did. I cashed it all.
You need to get 24 more letters. You're 24 letters short of a full alphabet on your hat. But anyway, listen to me. Well, you know, when you talk about that and you talk about the psychology of it, you know, there's a lot of, like, it's panic driven, like you said. But it sounds to me like you have a very good feel for customer service in your business. And you know what? It sounds to me like you understand other businesses, and you know that regardless of whether it's your business, the hairstylist, the massage guy, the welder, the HVAC guy, whoever it is, the one common denominator in all those businesses is understanding the expectation of your client. Is that true?
It's totally true. I mean, I think that there's a lot of value to being client-centric. And I got really lucky in this business because I happened to come into the business at a time where maybe if the business continued at the route it was at, I may not have been a perfect fit. But because the business was so client-centric, growing up in a big Italian Catholic family with lots of aunts and a mom and a grandmother who served everyone that came into the home. You know, when you
Sure.
come into my house, you get served. You know,
Manja, right?
yeah, that's how we were brought up. And the truth is, that's how we run our business. Everything is about service. Everything is about taking care of the end client and respect and the things that matter to that business. And once you understand the way a business functions, once you've built something, I spent the first 3 to 4 years doing everything I was told to do, which was very difficult for an entrepreneur. I struggled with doing what I was told.
Tell us exactly what that is. I mean, what exactly does a financial advisor do? Let's start with that. I mean, it's not just you don't yourself pick stocks or anything like that. Tell us exactly kind of what y'all do. Let's start with that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the first thing I had to realize when I was new was you lean on people that have been doing it a lot longer. And I started with Edward Jones, which is a wonderful company. They have a great training program. They connect you with a ton of mentors and trainers and coaches. And eventually I went on to do all those roles, which I loved a ton. But in leaning on those individuals, you know, every time I was meeting with the client, I was taking the time to understand what they were doing. And then I was going back to the team and asking questions and learning and saying, hey, if we did this, what does this happen? And how does this work? And each of these larger companies have analysts that really, they spend all their days studying and researching, and they do the best they can do, by the way, but nobody has a crystal ball. And so, you know, when you look at the Warren Buffetts and the people in the world that have been the most successful, they'll tell you to invest in things that you know, love, understand,
and hold,
you know, and can actually keep a commitment to. But our industry, our job is to really understand what the client needs, develop a strategy around that, and then define the investments that fit that. And it's a lot of times it's the opposite. And we train a lot of people to think a little bit differently. It's life and then wealth. Understanding life's goals and needs is most important. Wealth is second. I had a young guy come in the other day. You guys will love this. He comes in, he's awesome guy. He always calls me and he wants to just pick my brain. So he says, look, I'm going into my dad's business. I really want to grow it. I want to grow the business. And I stopped him and I said, why do you want to grow the business? And he goes, what do you mean, why do I want to grow it? I want to make more money. And I said, well, when you grow a business, you're going to invest in the business, which means you're going to have more infrastructure. That very growth may end up costing you more money. And he goes, what do you mean? I just thought if I expanded it, it would be, you know, bigger. Explain that to me. And I said, Scott, if you have I said to the guy, I said, if you have $100 in your pocket, right, and you decide to invest that $100, you no longer have that $100 in your pocket. So you're not spending that $100 and you're investing that $100 in something for the future. There's a benefit to get future gain out of that $100. And the goal is that $100 makes you money, right? If it doesn't make you money, hopefully you learn from it and it might make you even more in the future. How you look at how you spent that $100 is the real learning value. But if you think that just growing a business to grow it is going to make you more money, we're on the wrong page. And then I asked him another question. I said, when you go home with your dad, what does your dad want out of this business? And he goes, I haven't asked him that question. And I said, do you think it would be fun? Are you looking forward to having fun doing this? And he goes, I've never thought about fun. I've just thought about working. And I said, dude, I love where your head's at because you're grinding and you have the right mindset. But I want you to learn from me. Growing isn't just about making more money. It's about understanding why you're growing. What do you want to do? Do you want to have a family? Do you want to be at every soccer practice? Do you want to do the very things that we all wish we had more time for when you really are growing and earning in a business? And we started to talk about the dreams and goals. And the point I'm making is all I was doing was going through the normal cadence of what I would do with the client, understanding their situation, understanding a little bit more about what's most important and the why behind why they want to invest, not just that they want to invest.
Do you think, as far as your job, even when you came in, I mean, with everybody having these days, say, a longer life expectancy, is that changing the way that y'all are and helping people invest and the strategies y'all are doing now?
Yeah, I mean, look, everything's better now. Our technology's better. Our analysts are doing a better job. The companies understand the end client better. sales is secondary or third or fourth or fifth. It's really about planning. And when you have a plan and you're focused on the industry in the right areas, you know, it's so much more successful. And those extra benefits we have today allow us to better serve people long into the future, whether they live to be 100 or 110. I mean, I do believe that you're right. People do have to plan. You know, pensions are no longer the way that they used to be, and I
They're
think
not
there
even
was
offering them. There's not many even offering those anymore.
right. I mean, there's a lost generation of this generation in the 80s and 90s that went from having pensions to not having them, and they started getting 401ks, and nobody really understood that a 401k, you know, you got to have $1 million in your 401k to live off 50 grand for the rest of your life, and that's a lot of money. And so when you start looking at what you as an individual need to be doing for your future, you know, there's some big numbers there, and the best way to get to big numbers is to actually start early. And so, you know,
And just throwing this out there, just crazy. I've been teaching my son, like, crazy idea, people at home, spend less than you make, right? And
Well,
that big rule number one,
that's it. Yeah,
that's the hardest thing ever, right?
Hey,
I mean,
Jeff, that's that Millionaire Next Door book. That's a good one. That Millionaire Next Door book, Millionaire Next Door book that I read years ago, is one of the best books I've ever read. If anybody's taking it down out there, write it down. Millionaire Next Door, and it literally breaks down about people that live above their means, or people that live at their means, or people that live below their means. I know that I started my company when I was 24 years old. I probably had 12 employees by the time I was 26. But during that time and onward, every week I put $25. I didn't have any money, but I put $25 away. $25, $25, $20. And I have to tell you, by the time I was 40, I remember looking it back. I forgot all about this account. I was still taking $25 out. And I was like, wow, what the heck? I never even missed that $25. I didn't even know I had it, because I started doing it back when I was 24. So that's something you want, just what Jeff just said, you want to look, and not to get too much into financial stuff here from stupid air conditioning guys like Jeff and I, but you want to look, there's two things I always tell people. I say, look at how you're living and spending, and then look at what you're doing with your money. I know many guys in the trades that didn't make great amount of money, okay? But it's what they did with that money that mattered. It's what they did with the money. Not what they made, what they did with it. I mean, don't you agree, Dan?
yeah, I mean, here's the key component. You know, you talk about foundational wealth strategies, right? Save more, spend less. Very simple. Also, having
man, I really want that new Tahoe, and you know, my neighbors, they just got this new back pool, and I mean, come on, man.
I know. I think we all go through it. I mean, to some extent, we've all been there. When you start earning a little bit more and you start actually seeing a little bit extra come in, the truth is, honestly, you do want to do something for yourself, because you feel like you're working all the time, and it's never going to amount to anything. And so you constantly get in this, if you build the wrong habits of rewarding yourself for your success, and you forget that the why you're doing this, why are you doing it? What's the purpose behind it? Is the purpose for security, for protection, you know, for your family's future? What are you actually doing it for? And you're building a habit of wealth, a mindset of abundance versus scarcity. People that spend all their money have a mindset that it's going to be gone tomorrow, so why the hell should I save it? Right. Abundant mindset is totally, it's a, you know, we're getting another great book, and I love The Millionaire Next Door, by the way, so phenomenal book. Another great book is Think and Grow Rich. You know, you've got Napoleon Hill wrote a book after studying the strategies of the men that built America, Henry Ford, Rockefeller, all these guys that literally, Edison, they built the country. Whether you hate them or love them or whatever, their strategies, their success.
By the way, Dan or Scott.
Yeah.
By the way, Scott, they built it before we had credit cards.
Yeah.
The industrialization never had credit cards.
It's because J.P. Morgan was their boy. He'd lend them all the money they needed.
Yeah.
But it was
I mean, look,
before we had credit cards.
They had to prove they had a business, but the reality is he spent 20 plus years studying their success. studying what gave them successful habits. And some of the words that came out of that, one of the words that everyone on this call has is called persistence. They were willing to continue to do something even upon failure. There was, you know, so many things that they were similar. I think there were 14 things that they were similar in. And the reality is, I've read that book multiple times. It's all about perspective. And I think that what you see with really, really wealthy people is you see they kind of go through phases. There's almost a bell curve. You know, they spend a little more in the beginning because they're trying to justify, hey, this is why I work hard, this is why I do it. Then they start to accumulate stuff. Then the stuff starts to weigh on them. And then all they want is to get rid of stuff. They don't want all the things because it's just weighing more and more on them. And they want simplicity.
And let's be honest, by the time we're Chuck's age, all we need is health, insurance, roof over our head, and some food, right? I mean, that's it.
We might need it.
And this trip up here to Pennsylvania was all about getting rid of stuff. So
and I hear that they're sliding like sandwiches under the door in the basement for Chuck.
By the way, Scott amazingly just touched on a few words that began with P.
That started with P.
But it wasn't our P word, was it?
Oh, passion.
Tell him about our P word, because I think that's where he was going.
Yeah. And Scott, what is it that keeps you or gives you energy in your career choice? I mean, we talk a lot about, you know, the importance of passion and finding that, and so that, you know, your life is enhanced by what you do to make money. And,
yeah.
You know,
I mean, I think that's easy, Chuck. I mean, first of all, I wear this Whoop band on my arm, and it tells me when I'm working out, how good I'm sleeping. It'll tell me early if I have COVID, you know, all the things that are most important. But this thing is awesome, right? Here's what I learned about myself through wearing this. About 4 to 5 times a day, I register a workout, and I have no idea what I've done, except that I've created a category called coaching. And it's when I'm working within my business, or I'm working with a client, or I'm sitting with one of my advisors and I'm training or coaching them. And my heart rate gets sometimes up in the 150s, 160s. You know, I'm working.
Son.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm going to work out tonight. I guarantee
you need a little bourbon to thin that blood. Son.
So, you know,
passion.
The point is that there's a passion in it, but there's a great saying that Zig Ziglar had, and Zig Ziglar was one of like the sales guru guys. He trained companies all over the country for many, many years. Guys gave me his tapes when I started in a business, and Zig said that there's only 3 keys to success, and people spend their whole lives chasing money, and anyone that chases money will never catch it. But if they do these 3 things, and there's only 3 things, they'll be successful. And the first one is helping people. When you're helping people, you feel that servant leadership. You know that you're doing something bigger than yourself.
And for those at home, Scott is a Rotarian with me and Chuck.
Yes, sir. And in Rotary, it's service above self. And the reality is, helping people is the first foundational structure to a good business. They have a problem, and you're helping them with them. That's why they're willing to pay you. The second thing is you have to turn a profit. People come out of college today, come out of high school, they think that they're supposed to work for free. And if they don't turn a profit, they don't stay in business. So they won't help anybody too long. So if your restaurant gives away all its food, you're not going to be in business very long, and you can't serve people. You can't help people eat if you're not turning a profit. And third is, you got to serve something bigger than yourself. You got to serve God. There's got to be something that's bigger than you out there that's holding you accountable. Because when this world's done, when this life's over, you know that there's something better, and there was a reason why you were serving people and working for something bigger than yourself. And if you do that, abundance will always be there for you. You'll always have great things happen. And I do believe that financial benefit will come. You'll have financial success.
And of course, you'll leave your kids with all the tools they need to when you're gone, right?
Yeah, so they can fight over your death and come into my office and wonder why they didn't get more than.
So unfortunately, that was gonna lead into that question that I was gonna have. For those at home in financial advising, unfortunately, this is a topic that is extremely important. Any advice, free advice, by the way, you don't have to give your money to Scott tonight for this, to protect or for those people so that when the inevitable happens,
Oh man, you
to
can't.
leave everybody on that note of where it's done. There's no bicker. I don't even know if it's possible. Is it even possible?
Yeah, I think it's possible. Yes, it's possible. And I'll tell you, Chuck, I
tell
know
them how to do it.
This question's for Chuck, and I'll answer it. No problem. You know what? I'm sure that you'll have some estate planning friends on this. We have a lot of them in Rotary. We have a lot of good friends that plan estates, people that do an amazing job, whether it's a simple will. It's really just, again, the same level of success and financial success as having a plan and committing to it. The same thing goes when you're not here. What's your plan when you're not here? Have one. If you have a plan when you're not here, it simplifies it for everybody afterwards. And you can have strict plans where there's no fighting, and if there is, they don't get anything. You can have very loose plans where, hey, I don't care what happens when I'm gone. But the reality is, you do something, and the more you plan, the more successful it will be, and it makes life a lot easier. It makes them celebrate your life versus not being the enabled generation of just waiting for you to die and take whatever they get. I'm not a fan of that mentality. I will tell you, Jeb, my mentality has shifted a lot in my role, and I really do highly encourage people to sit down with somebody and plan that part. What happens when they're no longer here? Who do their kids go to? What happens to their money? What charities are they donating to? Plan it out. Think about it. Because guess what? It's gonna happen. It's the only guarantee we can talk about.
I'm probably Scott's only client that's like, plan this out to this very day here. I've used all of my money. It's all gone. It's done. I used every dollar.
Deb, we'll be doing it together, so I'm not worried about it. Wherever you're at, I'm going to go with you, brother.
Hey, Chuck, I'll be buying that kid all his Jelly Belly jelly beans.
Yeah.
I already have. Supporting them. Wow. Hey, Scott. Scott, I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's just a general, I'm not even sure you can comment on this or not. Is there, we have all this PPP money in the market. Okay. Do you think that's really been the reason the markets are up, or is that just something that just happened anyway? It's no big factor.
So I'm gonna skirt the question a little bit just because
of compliance
purposes.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. Here's something that people can recognize, and this will help to answer the question. Markets are forward thinking. They're forward looking. They're ahead of everything that we're thinking about today. They're playing chess while we're playing checkers. In business, the best business decisions are made by playing chess, not playing checkers. Most people just play checkers every day. They think about what's in front of them in the newspaper, and the newspaper is looking through old rear view mirrors. It's driving while looking up and looking behind you the whole time. The reality is the economy and the markets are often forward. In fact, the economy often lags the markets. The job numbers and all those things will lag. And so it's important to pay attention to that, especially in an election year. There's never more of a crazy time than when there's elections and people genuinely believe that their life can be made or hurt by one man or one woman. It's a very, very sad thing because it's not true. The reality is we make our own destiny, and those people will always make really, really frustrating laws that we agree or disagree with, or they'll do things economically we agree or disagree with.
Certain things in the market either way are going to go up, right?
That's always happened. That's always happened, right?
And no matter what happens, there's certain things in the market that are going to advance or decline.
Sure.
Correct?
Alcohol hasn't been hurt. I mean, the governor viewed that as a business that had to stay open, and the ABC
Essential.
killing it.
Essential business.
Dave's got a lot to do with that personally.
During 08 and 09, there were lots of businesses that did great. Not all businesses do bad. So it plays into the part of diversification, and that's diversification of all assets. I mean, understanding that the different levels of investing goes back to Millionaire Next Door and the simple fundamentals of One thing we haven't talked about that's always good to mention is measurement. You know, people when they find success, they forget to measure. They stop measuring it, and then they don't know where it goes. And the key component of gaining control, it's no different than weight. You know, if you measure it, if you weigh yourself and you work out and you eat healthy and you weigh yourself, you have a barometer of knowing whether you're succeeding or failing. And I'm not judging any particular goal. I'm just saying that when it comes to money, most people find success and they quit measuring. And the funny thing is they could have exponential results if they actually put more into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's a great point.
They're
That's a
almost
great point.
afraid. They're almost afraid of being successful, or afraid of success brings failure. So they're doing great. Okay. They're afraid of just sensing any failure off of that, right?
Sure. I mean, I think we can be our own worst enemies. And
Yeah.
I put a video out today, and I talked about needs versus wants. And I talked about identifying, you know, in couples, this is a really big issue. You know, we sit down with most couples, and this is the psychology of my role, right? You sit down with a couple, and I mean, 8 out of 10 times, they're completely on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
I watched Sebastian Maniscalco, I think is his name, the comedian, and he's doing a bit lately where he goes, "What did my wife buy on Amazon today?" And he just opens the packs, and it's hilarious. I mean, today he got 8 pairs of socks that are called funny socks, and he's like, "I didn't even ask her for this. Why is she buying this?" And
Scotty, it used to be Pure One. Now it's Amazon, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're all look. It's as many times as it's the wife, it's the husband. It goes both ways. But normally, the person paying the bills, writing the checks, is the person that has the uncomfortable feeling when they go to bed. They're the one that actually has the weight of it on them, so they think about it a little bit more. And the other person has a little bit of freedom. And when they're aligned, though, when they're actually working together, it's a pretty big benefit. So if you can align your goals and your financial focus of where you want to be in life, that can also help in your relationships. It can also help in your love life. It can help you. You know, divorce can be a very costly thing for people, and so being aligned in those capacities and identifying needs versus wants. The example I used is my kids go to Catholic school, and growing up and having gone to Catholic school, that was a need for me. For my wife, it was a want that she readjusted to us both being aligned that it was a need. And I'm very thankful that we were able to do that, and we've been able to.
Your culture, that was your thing. I mean, that's where you.
No, it was, but we aligned on it is the key.
I'm gonna turn you back over to these guys, but I have one last thing I want to go over with you. If you had a pitch, okay, that you were going to give to young people, and I think you're qualified to do this because you got into it so young. You started out in criminal justice, and then you decided to get into this. What would be your pitch to tell young people to get into your industry?
Man, I think there's certain industries right now that are poised for high levels of success in the next 20 years. And I think technology is showing you right now how awesome the world can be. And every level of technology, I look at the technology companies like Google and Facebook and Apple and Amazon. I look at them as the industrial companies like GE and all those companies back 55, 65 years ago, right? They're in everything today. They're not just in one thing. Well, financial services is something that I believe is an industry that has a lot of staying power. People need to know how and what to do with money. And some level of understanding financial success is something that's going to help you not only in your career, but in the future of your life. When I took the job to young people out there, I said, hey, if I fail, at least I learned how to manage my own money. That was my fallback. My fallback was, I'm not going to fail, but if I do, I learned to manage my own money. And I just kept learning, and I'm still learning today. I'm learning from clients. I'm learning from people like each of you. You know, that's what this is about. It's about a constant learning game. One of my favorite sayings is there's a great book by Keith Cunningham, and I can't remember the name, but I'll get it to Jeb. But he calls it a dumb tax. When you learn in business, all you're doing is investing in your future. You're paying a dumb tax to get better at something that you weren't good enough at in the beginning. And that is called tuition. That's your tuition. That's your college tuition.
Yeah. I mean, my guys messed up. I'm like, well, hopefully you won't do that again.
In my company, in my company, you know, I have about 60, 65 people. And in my company, when we have a problem, we really break it down. We get around a table and break it down. That's important to me because I tell them, I say, look, we're going to pay whatever we're going to pay for this problem we created. Okay. We own this problem. We're going to make it right. But I'll tell you what, the payback we're going to get from this problem is we're going to learn the lesson. We're going to understand the lesson. We're just not going to take care of this. We're going to understand this lesson, and we're going to look at our process, all right, and see if our process needs to change because of this lesson or if it was just flat out bad luck. But we're going to understand it either way. I think that's what you're saying.
It's exactly what I'm saying. Most people spend their lives making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And that's why, unfortunately, when you look at wealth and wealth accumulation, there's always a minority of people that have it. And the truth is, it's because most people aren't willing to do what it takes to get it and to build it, because it takes really, really hard work and failure. And you have to fail as an individual, fail in business. You have to fail on so many levels to get there.
After you fail, Scott, you got to live in reality.
That's right.
You got to live in reality, not in denial. You got to live in reality. You got to, and that's the key. That's the key to failure and learning, right? Living in reality.
Sure. John Maxwell says, sometimes you learn. I mean, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And I love that. There's really no losing. It's learning. And if you execute upon that, then financial success and really gaining the level of education, Jeb, to the whole point of the show, right? Blue collar, white collar. Let me tell you what, if you don't know how to put on both collars, you don't actually know how to live in this world and how to connect with people, because there's only one collar we wear around our necks. And the reality is it's hard work, ethics, and doing the best you can to serve people.
That's right. Chuckster's coming in hot.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Scott, it's been great having you on the show tonight, and just hearing the way that you came into the business. I mean, that's inspirational, I think, to a lot of folks out there. What would you say? And remember when I was involved in the business as a financial advisor? So many people they built their whole life. You know, their ups and downs of the day were based on the number at the bottom of their list of investments. And when things went bad, all of a sudden they like because of whatever happening in the world, their bottom line number drops, so they drop as well. I mean, but I can see that you have found how to have peace, kind of regardless of what the fluctuations of the market. And how would you advise people to be in order not to have that up and down mentality?
Well, I think first thing I advise people is turn off the damn news. I mean, if you want to live a life where you hate yourself and everyone around you, keep watching the negativity that they feed you every day on the media and the news, because it's not designed to make you feel great about yourself. It's designed to make you fail so they can continue to control us and make us do whatever they want us to do. And that includes following the market's ups and downs. That includes making bad decisions at bad times. I honestly love people in media. I love the purpose of serving people and giving news. I just like to focus on the positivity. And so what I would tell you is, from a perspective of my seat, I'm working to make sure that people around me are aware that ups and downs are coming, authentically, completely transparent. It's going to happen. Promising more than you can ever deliver is a big negative in this industry, but making people aware of the facts and the opportunities that exist when there are downturns, that's when the opportunity is there. If you've got some scratch on the sidelines when everybody else is failing, it ain't a bad time to have that cash and to do something with. Open a business. How many restaurants will succeed in the next 5 to 10 years because so many failed in the last year? I mean, there's going to be a lot. Unfortunately, that's the way the world works. But it's the resilient that come out, the persistent that come out ahead.
Yeah.
think
We
we're
are
there.
at the top of the hour. Awesome, great show, Scott. You did it all by yourself, bud.
Yeah.
You
That's
there was
tough to do.
no quiet time, as I knew there wouldn't be.
I didn't get here by being quiet, my man.
Guy, you filled the seat of three. You filled the seat of three people.
Well, good news is my birthday's next month. I got another $12 check coming to my funds, buddy. So you take care of me, all right?
Jeb, your $12 is safe with me. Hey, I
All right.
appreciate you guys. It's great getting to know you. I'm honored to be a guest, and I love what you're doing. Keep giving the kids the message they need to hear, and that is hard work and doing it the right way. Whatever it is they do, college, no college, whatever, it's a good path forward. So
Whatever their
thanks for
passion
doing
is,
what
do
you're
it.
doing.
The money will follow. That's our motto. Do what you like to do. The money will follow.
100%.
And that's it for tonight. Thank y'all. We are signing off.
See you
All right,
next
man.
week.
Gary,
Love
you've
it.
been
See
quiet
ya.
all night. Go ahead and sign.